Hello and welcome back to Building Momentum, the show where we peel back the curtain on the exciting and often chaotic world of building a successful SaaS business. I'm Yash, your host for this show, where every episode we bring you the stories and strategies of founders who've been in the trenches, conquering churn, scaling their teams, and building products that people and businesses love. In this episode, we'll be chatting with Kevin from Ahsuite. Ahsuite is a platform that helps you build client portals that you can use to share reports, presentations, and everything else in a way that your clients will love. We're excited to hear their story and the lessons they've learned along the way. We'll be dissecting the wins, the losses, and everything in between. So buckle up, grab your headphones, and get ready to dive in the world of SaaS. Hey, Kevin, thank you for doing this. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me on and doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. And so would love to start off this conversation with just trying to understand what's the big problem that you're trying to solve at Ahsuite.
Well, it's for people who want to share things with their clients behind a password in an organized setting. So this could be agencies or accountants, designers, freelancers, any of those sort of people who work with clients online and just want a sort of convenient, organized space for sharing assets and communicating with them and assigning tasks and that kind of thing.
Correct. And so traditionally, like before client portals, we would use emails, and then we would use task management or project management systems. What is it that a client portal brings to the table that, as an example, a task management system or a project management system, think like Asana or something like that, wouldn't be able to?
I think primarily it's a simplified client view. So you can invite a client into your project management system, and you can configure maybe access permissions for them. But a client portal lets you wrap it in something that's just dead simple and user-friendly for an end client who might be somebody who's really not that tech savvy. Another benefit is that it does consolidate various tools into one so that you're not kind of hopping between different things, and tries to get you out of your inbox and put your messaging and your ticketing system and your document sharing all in one place, so just fewer logins.
Yeah, and so this is like client portal like brings a lot of different tools at different dimensions. So because I don't just work with my clients across a document, but I also do some designs, and then I also do some work related to coding, or probably some work related to graphics or social media and so on and so forth. And so this allows me to bring in all of those things into one single platform, so the client can log in into one place. And one of the other things that I really liked about Ahsuite is also the fact that I can, on a particular plan, I'll also be able to completely white label it. So it will be on my domain, and it just allows me to appear a little, if I'm an agency, it allows me to appear a little bigger than I am.
Yeah.
Which sort of helps us build trust and things like that as well. Fun fact, we also had built parts of client portal as a part of our company, Client Joy, which got acquired, and we used to look up to the work that you were doing at Ahsuite at the
work I was doing. I looked up to you guys, and I don't know if you remember, but we interacted on LinkedIn once.
Yeah.
I thought you were really gracious to talk to me because you guys were much further ahead than me.
We're trying to grow, but it's good, right? Because the market is like, one of the things that I've always realized is that the market's so big, and there are so many interesting things for us to build that, and there is inspiration almost everywhere, and there are a lot of memories with building client portals, and that's why I was extremely excited to have you on for this conversation as well, right? So help us understand a little around the stage or the status quo at Ahsuite, right? So where have we reached today?
Yeah. So this has been a long journey. It was a pivot from, I originally was trying to build, I had a background as a pay-per-click specialist. And when I left that agency, I'll just give you a little of my background. So I had started a defensive driving company, just an online thing in Arizona. And that had let me leave the job at the marketing agency and given me enough revenue that I could start trying to bankroll the next thing. And I thought, okay, I'm going to make an agency where I've automated a lot of the back office work, because I felt like at the agency where I was, they were always trying to automate away my job. I thought automate away them. So anyway, that led to making a lot of software to automate those processes, but I couldn't get the agency off the ground. I just was the wrong guy for it. I wasn't out there hitting the bricks, making sales. I'm just not for it. So I said, let's shed the agency. Is there something here that I can preserve and spin off as its own product? And that was the basis of Ahsuite. So then I focus on the client portal aspect of it, and I've been working on that now for 2 or 3 years developing this. But I'm always feeling like, oh, I'm just starting, or I'm about to start, or it's So we definitely haven't really had takeoff. We've had our active users are in the low hundreds. Most of those are unpaid, are on the free plan. So revenue wise, we're in a deep hole, but we're just pressing forward. So anyway, I guess just to kind of to give context to my comments, it's like definitely haven't figured it out yet. It's been a long building process. I mean, I think from a development standpoint, it's fairly mature. And that's why I'm kind of bewildered that it's been so slow to take off. And anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Got it. Interesting. So this is great for us to sort of try and understand and put everything that we're about to have a conversation about in context, right? And the other piece that I'm a little curious about is one of the few SaaS companies who's not like every SaaS company that I look at these days. They're talking about AI upfront, right? So in some cases they have the AI domain, or they have that as part of the main H1 tagline on the website, or they're part of their name or something like that. At the minimum, they have it as part of the H. But Ahsuite does not talk about AI. Want to understand and probe this a little more as to is that a conscious decision? Why would you? What's the thought process?
Well, I suppose, there's the marketing aspect to that, and there's the product aspect. I hadn't really thought about whether it would be useful as a marketing strategy to put that kind of language on the site. And maybe that's something I should think more deeply about. I don't know if that makes a big difference in like conversion rates for people signing up. From a product standpoint, definitely have plans for it. I didn't want to get too sidetracked. What I've done right now is I've created like custom GPTs in ChatGPT, and I'll put those in the support docs and stuff, and basically say, look, if you've got a GPT Plus account, here are some tools I've made to facilitate some of the things you might want to do with Ahsuite. And with the idea that eventually I'll start building those features directly into it. Kind of where I'm thinking by the end of the year, what I want to be doing is I want to basically have more of a chat interface with a lot of the tools within the platform. So basically, you've got these different context windows of who say I'm a user and there's certain things I'm restricted to see. That's the context window for the chat interface. And so that definitely down the roadmap. Well, I would love to be doing it now, but I'm trying to get through some other milestones before I get there. But that's basically it's not necessarily a conscious decision. And probably updating the language on the website to at least use the word AI maybe wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, no, because almost everyone that I've spoken to basically say that it adds tailwinds to whatever it is that you're doing. So it gives you a little bit more of a push. People are a little more forgiving. They want to try out the product, and then it doesn't lead to conversion as a paid customer, but it does lead to a higher conversion rate from website visitor to sign-ups. And it just ensures that a little more number of people actually experience the product and the experience. So that's an interesting piece to think about as well. The other...
I was listening to another podcast you did, and the person you were interviewing was talking about just sort of the pricing struggles of incorporating AI, and now they're that's in their variable costs. So that's something I haven't really delved into. I'm kind of going to be curious to see how that works out.
No, so that is also, so like it doesn't come without its own challenges for sure. And like just the previous episode that I recorded was with a true generative AI company, which actually is work. So they are, and I have a question for you from them towards the end of the episode. But they essentially are in the business of helping e-commerce store owners create product photographs through AI, right? So if I have a photograph of a dress, I can have an AI model wear it, right? And so and same for accessories and for watches and for anything, right? And so it just takes your product photography to another level, to another dimension. And one of the things that they are trying to fix is how can they make the AI generated images look a little more imperfect so that they seem natural, because whatever they see from Midjourney is just too perfect, and so you feel like this is AI generated. So they are trying to work on that front. But the challenge that they are facing is people, and this is like their another question that they have, and we discussed this in that episode, is do people pay for AI? everybody wants to use it for sure.
Yeah.
And they'll pay OpenAI and they'll pay a couple of other products. But for a use case, from a B2C sort of a use case, do people actually want to pay for very specific AI? And so that's still up in the air, and so we'll find out what happens over there. The other thing I want to understand from you a little more is as a client portal, this is a challenge that we faced ourselves as well. At ClientJoy, we had a lot of customers in the digital marketing agency space, and then about half of our customers were digital agencies, and then we had design agencies and then IT agencies, and very few independent consultants and coaches and lawyers and accountants. And one of the challenges that we had was to design the product in a way that it fits workflows for these different use cases. And so how do you think about your go-to-market or your product as well? Like, do you think of building the product that is horizontal, so it fits like 80% of all use cases? Or do you think of building a product that's like 100% going behind a particular use case, a particular ideal client persona, and then just building for it?
It's been excuse me. It's been horizontal, but I'm kind of rethinking that. I thought, okay, this is for, again, my background was as a Google Ads specialist. So I thought this is for PPC people who want to put together multiple performance dashboards in one package. But I did AppSumo, and from that you get people from all over the board, and they're asking for all kinds of things. And in some ways that stretched me to think in different ways and broaden the platform. In other ways, maybe it was a distraction from the original intent. So definitely, probably third or half of the development has been just responding to what I'm hearing people requesting. In terms of pressing forward, I have some basic features that I want to polish and that are not focused on a specific industry. But I am kind of thinking maybe going forward, I do need to start honing in. Lately, I found myself getting distracted thinking about accounting because my accountant uses a client portal. It's really nice for accountants. It's really expensive, but it's really nice for accountants. And I thought, man, I'd have to do a lot to compete with that for an accountant, but I can certainly do way better on price and maybe with these few tweaks. So what I'm currently working on is to nudge it in that direction, even though that's probably not, I probably should be focused on like agencies and designers and marketers, but I find myself getting nudged in that direction. Yeah, that's probably clearly the ones that are a lot. I've seen a lot of really successful niche portals that just focus on one industry, and that's the advice I've gotten from a lot of people. That's probably what I should have done or what I should be doing, but it's not what I have been doing.
Got it. And so I'm sure if you've not focused on a particular ideal persona, like a client persona, can you talk us through some of the GTM mistakes, like go-to-market? Not mistakes, I would say experiments that didn't work out. Because so if you like, what are the channels that you have tried to acquire customers, and what experiments have worked for you, what experiments have not worked, and any first principles learning that you've gotten from?
Well, we've done ads, Google Ads and Reddit ads. In the past, I'd tried some other platforms, but I've held back on that because something in my funnel wasn't working. And so I'll probably revisit that when I feel more confident and I see my conversion rate improving. Continue to invest a lot in SEO. It's basically content and blog and that kind of thing. And I'm using an affiliate platform called First Promoter. I don't know how much I'm getting out of it. I have a real problem with just visibility into my own metrics. I probably will end up needing to build some sort of analytics dashboard for myself, unless I can find some. I've kind of looked into various tools and experimented with things and always kind of hit a wall. I'm using Intercom for chat widget, a ton of things really, and that I've kind of configured to use to kind of get an idea of like user sessions and those kinds of things. Who's reaching certain parts of the application. But one of the things I've been trying to solve is really figure out, okay, I can get someone to the website for this price. I can get them to sign up for this price. Where am I losing them on the path? Where can I optimize and how? So I guess to answer your question, it's just that I've tried spending money on getting traffic, but found that there are too many broken spots in the track that I need to fix before I return to that. So that's basically it.
So one of the exactly the same story for us. One of the things that worked for us was laser sharp focus on the ICP, and so everything that we did within the product, even in terms of SEO, right? So we have since we found out that half of our customers are digital agencies, 11 to 50, US and Canada. all of our content efforts, all of our ads, everything that we did was catered to answering questions of founders of those agencies. 11 to 50 US, Canada digital agencies, right? Um, so that is the first thing that sort of helped us. The second thing was we started fixing bottom of the funnel first, ability, in-app tours, accelerating time to value, onboarding, all of those things, and then went on to improving website to sign up conversion, and then went on to landing page to sign up, like an ad landing page to sign up conversion, and then went on to optimizing ads, right? So just making sure that while you are filling the funnel should not be leaky, right? So that sort of worked. It was a lot of hard work. It took us about 8 or 9 months to get there. Both of them sort of realigning the marketing effort and then realigning the product effort as well. I think for 4-5 months of those 8 months, we didn't release any new features for our existing customers. It was just making sure that the onboarding is as smooth as possible, the speed is as good as possible, people are able to book demos, find answers, and things like that. So it was an interesting 8-9
Can I ask you, how do you, sometimes it's got to be intuition, right? Like, there must be parts where you go, well, why am I losing somebody here? I mean, are you then surveying people, or are you just kind of using your gut? I mean, because for me, a lot of times I've worked a lot on sort of the onboarding process and that kind of thing, but sometimes I'm like, maybe it's a product thing, maybe this is not compelling or to the right people. So how do you approach those questions?
So one of the things surveys, we tried surveys. We realized people
they don't respond.
Answers. Yeah, they don't respond to surveys unless they're extremely happy or extremely unhappy. And if you're only going to get responses in those two states, then it just makes your survey biased. So the way that we went about it is that every person who signed up, so we had about, at the time of our acquisition, we had anywhere between 120 to 150 people signing up every week. And so we would, so we had.
What was your acquisition channel?
Couple of, like, 3 main things. So we tried 10 different experiments, 3 that worked. First was SEO, second was resources. So we had like free resources for digital agency owners, and then we ran ads for those resources instead of running ads for clients. And then the third one that we had was our newsletters. We had smaller ones as well. So like affiliates brought in something, paid ads brought in some things, competitor ads brought in some things. But these were the 3 major channels. These were contributing like 70 to 80%. These 3 put together were 70 to 80%.
Okay.
The other 20% was small little things that were on autopilot of SaaS. So that was they would happen if and when they happened, not predictable at all. So we had about 1,000 unique weekly website visitors. Out of that, about 120 to 130 people signing up. Out of that, we were converting, I think, 13 to 16 or 17 paying customers who were purchasing anywhere between 35 to 45 licenses. And then this was happening week after week. And so the first piece that we fixed was the purchase of licenses that started to happen. So like bottom of the funnel, and then middle of the funnel, and then like up top of the funnel. But I would say that all of this we were able to get only because we were like laser focused on the idea that we're only going to go after these people. And then our product also reflected that. So even the copy within the product, all of those things sort of reflected that.
My impression was that you guys sort of pivoted from client portal to more like a CRM sales enablement kind of thing. Is that right?
It was the other way around. So we were so we were CRM and sales enablement, and then moved towards client portal and invoicing and all of those things. So we started with CRM and proposals, and then we moved towards a little sort of that was essentially the idea was to land and try and expand across our customers org. So instead of having just the sales team or the founders using the product, can we get the fulfillment people or the project managers also to use it? And then can we get the accounts team or the person who's raising the invoices also use it? And then can we like have one place from the agency standpoint?
Okay.
So like for the first, we were on the market for 4 years. For the first, like our first AppSumo launch doesn't even mention client portal. We didn't have it. So when we launched, so we didn't have client portal for the first 2 years of our existence, and then started sort of building that as well. But the other piece that I'd also like to understand from you is how do you sort of try and maintain I'm sure, so when you launch an AppSumo, as you also mentioned, there are a lot of people who come in, and then there is requirements in terms of features and products, and they are very, very loud about it as well. How do you, I'm sure that as a founder, you also have certain things that you want to build that no one's
Right.
asking for,
Right.
but are good and bad, and like will make certain things better for your customers, right? So when your customers are asking for faster horses, how do you think about focusing on selling cars, right? So like, how do you split your time between building for things that people are asking for and building for things that are going to be like a delta 4 of sorts for the customer?
I mean, it's probably like 60-40 or 50-50. If I get the same, if it's a small request, I try to rush it through because that can make somebody really happy. If it's really small, if it's, maybe I shouldn't do that so much, but I get so happy when somebody talks to me. So when the users talk to me, it's like, I'm happy to if it's, if something can be knocked out in a couple hours or something, I try to do it. If I hear the same thing a lot, then that's a real clue. And I try to I'm always trying to think of how to integrate what I want to do with what people are asking for, and I definitely have some long-term ideas that I'm working towards. And I guess for me, that's most of the work, is just trying to figure out the right way to prioritize and how to think about the features in a way that advance sort of my getting to where I want to get to, but also, responding to what people are telling me they actually want. And I try, I try to be humble about, like, maybe people don't want what I think that they want. So I try to listen and hear that feedback. But yeah, it can really derail you. Like, if I had somebody, okay, I'll just give you one. Somebody said basically, hey, this is great, but I can't use it because I really need recurring tasks. And I've always kind of wanted recurring tasks, but this is the first person ever asked for it. And so immediately my mind goes like, oh, I got to get those recurring tasks going. But I'm like, wait, this is one person has asked for this. Someday he'd like to have it. But anyway, I can't say I'm super good at it. It's just for me, it's just been using my gut, and I should probably have a more systematic, disciplined way of doing it.
This reminds me, right? So I'm so sorry. I think I talked about some metrics, but I didn't answer the question that you asked. So just to get back to it, like, so one of the things that I would do is I just beg, like, I'll like reach out to, so as soon as they signed up, we would use their email. We had an API internally set up. So use their email, send it to ZoomInfo, get the LinkedIn profile if that was available. And then I would like reach out from on LinkedIn. And essentially just beg for a 15-minute call. I'd say that I promise I will not sell. If you can give me 15 minutes, it's a founder to founder conversation. I'm sure you started a business, you understand how difficult it is to get it off the ground. I'm trying to do the same. Can you give me 15 minutes of your time? This will help me immensely. I would do typically anywhere. These had like decent conversion rates. I was able to get about 10% of people on the call as well.
Okay.
And so on the call, I'd ask them a couple of questions, but then the final question would be, what does the product need to have that you'll go ahead and give your credit? That, okay, this is something that I've got to purchase. Right? We're telling you that we have like 150 features, but what is it that the product should do, would do, that will make you go like, oh, I just need this today.
Right.
And so just back to back asking that questions I was doing, I think typically 2 calls a day that would last 15 to 30 minutes, and just having this conversation, trying to build insight out of those. All of those were recorded and stuff like that.
Do you find it was useful? I know ZoomInfo is like super expensive. Do you find it was useful doing that outreach via LinkedIn versus, I mean, you could have it in your app or email? Was it worth paying to be able to reach them in LinkedIn?
LinkedIn was, so we had an email sequence. We were also using Intercom. So we had a drip sequence created in Intercom as well. That was already sending them emails, which would ask them to book a call, book a demo, and stuff like that.
Right.
But actually reaching out on LinkedIn, like we saw, had the best conversion rates.
Interesting. Okay.
And so and as it is, like, I was going on those calls with the understanding that I'm not going to be able to sell. I just want to ask them this one question. That what should we do that will get them to say, okay, you can have my $9 a month, or something to that. So that was and ZoomInfo is not that expensive, right? The API. So we were using the API, not like an account.
Okay.
The API is not that expensive. So getting 100 100 to 110 email IDs per week. That would have been, I think, what, $15-20, not more than that.
Oh yeah, I talked to them years ago when I was trying to do the agency, and it was like a $20,000 a year.
Oh no! This is significantly cheaper. Yeah, no, this is significantly cheap.
Yeah.
So that was what we had. The other, I also want to explore a little more, because this is a direction that we never went into at ClientJoy. I wanted to, but we never were able to get there. Which was the marketplace piece, right?
Yeah.
Which is where a user of Ahsuite can search and look for other users of. Can you tell us, like, a SaaS plus marketplace? How did you think about it? Like, what's the use case over there, and how did you come across this as a requirement?
Well, this was kind of a to some extent it's like a if this thing doesn't work, then I'm going to pivot to that. Like, so to some extent it's okay if I can't. It's interesting, hearing from you sort of the kind of numbers you guys saw with ClientJoy, because man, that's the delta between your guys' success in getting clients versus Ahsuite is huge. I think that you guys have a really great product, and it's ahead of Ahsuite in most respects. But the delta in the product is not as big as the delta in the signups. I mean, you guys were killing it. I mean, clearly, I need to learn how to make that happen for Ahsuite as a client portal. But the thought was always, well, if I can't get that to catch fire, then maybe this other route, maybe it's an alternative to like an Upwork or a Fiverr. Basically, the concept is that when you hire somebody on Upwork, then you've got to integrate them into your tool set, or you're working with them on Upwork, which the interface is I find it frustrating. I've been using it since it was Elance. And so I kind of thought, well, maybe an ideal user is just somebody who's a freelancer, who works with people on Upwork or Fiverr, and they move them to this platform for actually doing the work. And I also envisioned it as something where, like, if you're a small agency or an entrepreneur, you can staff out your team for different projects. So that was, anyway, that's how I imagine it being used. How much are people actually using the aspect of it? Again, this is one of those problems where I don't have good visibility into it. And so I don't really know that that's a feature that people love, but it's definitely something that, here's something that I want to work on. I want to develop that side of it a lot further, but I'm trying to weigh that against, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but that's definitely something that I would love it to be a place where someone signs up so that they can potentially get hired, or they can staff out their team as an alternative to going to Fiverr or Upwork. And they know that anybody that they bring onto their team is already using the same stack. So it's just an easy fit. That's kind of the thinking.
Got it. Interesting. Extremely interesting. And so we've never actually thought of having, so the reason why there was, I don't know if the URL is still up, because now the company is being run by another larger firm, also based in the US. They acquired us earlier this year, but we also had
congratulations.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for that. And so, like, we had marketplace.clientjoy.io as a URL as well, where you could go in. It never took off. We were not able to build a good go-to-market motion for it, and it was available within the product and a couple of other things. But one of the things that we also realized was that the market is full of very feature-rich, good products with no users. Right. It is also full of half-decent products that have great go-to-market motions. Right? And so in the first year of ops, we sort of realized that all of the company objectives, whether it is the engineering team, design team, or the marketing team, the company objectives have to be around how do we get this in hands of people, and like just be distribution obsessed. And so that would mean that even our engineering team was working on building apps for marketplaces, and they were building growth-led, growth-related features within the product, right? So they would build in-app checklists, and they would build referrals. We use First Promoter as well. So referrals using First Promoter, affiliate program using the First Promoter, anything and everything that will get ClientJoy to more people. So create opportunities to talk to more people and ask this one question. So what do we do that will get you to pay? And then only if, like, a lot of people said that, okay, if we do this, we'll pay, then we would go ahead and build an additional feature on top of it. The other advantage I would say that we had was that everything's just cheaper over here. It's not say cheaper, it's more economical. In India. So yeah.
My developer is in Delhi. I'm going to his wedding in November.
Yeah. So like the 26 people team that we had would probably be equivalent to a 7-8 people team, or less probably in the US or any developed economy. For that matter. So that was a great advantage as well. Awesome. So Kevin, this brings us to the towards the end of our conversation, and one of the things that we do is I ask you a question that our previous guest has asked,
Okay.
and then you should also ask a question that I'll ask our next guest. And so as I shared with you, our previous guest is Lynn, who works on the product called vshop.ai, and one of the challenges that she's trying to solve for at her organization is how do they make sure that every feature that they build within the product, how do they make sure that that is being adopted, sorry, how do they make sure that every feature has an ample opportunity before you as a founder decide for or against, right? So whenever you build something and you launch it, and then how do you make sure that it goes out to the right people? What are the steps that you take so that you announce it, or whatever it is that you do? How do you make sure that, okay, this feature has had ample opportunity and now it is the time to either take it out or double down on it and then build more things on it?
Interesting. Well, it's got to be hard to take it out, right? Once you give it, if one person likes it, then it's like,
yeah, it's difficult.
That's interesting. Well, in terms of how to announce it, I just put it in my Discord group. I'll usually, and or sometimes I don't, and I should announce it. Sometimes I just put it in there and don't say anything. But yeah, I mean, wherever you talk to your users in your Facebook group or Discord group or whatever. With Intercom, they have kind of a cool way you can have new features pop up, and you can kind of manage all that within Intercom. I haven't really made use of that though, but that might be one approach. Yeah, I guess if it's about making sure the announcement is made to the right people, if they're using Intercom, they have a solution for that.
You have a segment or something like that.
Right. But as for how do you decide whether to, boy, that's tough. What do you think?
I don't know. So this is, by the way, a question from the founder. vshop.ai has 350,000 users.
Wow.
Who are e-commerce merchants, and this is a growth that they've seen in the last 15 months. And I was so they launched in May last year. That's like I just did a very back of the hand calculation, and that's like 800 merchants a day. And so that's a lot, right? 350,000 merchants in 15 months. So I didn't know. I mean, I've never seen that scale. The max that we had was 13,000 total users. That we had over 4 years. This is like this, and this is a 10 people team. Can you imagine? Just 10 people team in total.
What are they doing? How are they doing it? Is it just viral or something?
Yeah, no. So they have an extremely verticalized large language model for e-commerce shop owners. So if I'm selling watches or something like that, I have, let's say, 1,000 SKUs. Typically what happens is I would have photographed this watch in 10 different angles, put it up on my website. What they do is they take this photograph and then allow the shop owners to have a person wear it through AI.
Okay.
So that you know and you realize how it could look like. It improves conversion rates drastically, right? So as an example, I'm not what you would conventionally define as a fit person. My waist size is 36. So when I click on the 36 inches waist size for a lower, for a pant or something like that, I would see an AI generated person who has 36-inch waist size. And so I'm not looking at a model who's like really who's like jacked and like whatever, right? So they're ripped and stuff like that. So it actually shows me, and if I'm an Indian person who's shopping on some US store or something like that, I'm able to do all of that, right? So how will it look on my skin tone and stuff like that? So as a user, so that's the product that's a SaaS that they've built. And like from a tech standpoint, as I shared with you, the challenge that they're trying to fix is what Midjourney is also struggling with, which is AI hallucinations and stuff like that. So how to make sure that when I generate my avatar on the platform, it doesn't have like 6 fingers and stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, so if they've got like, what do you say, 35,000 users?
350,000 merchants. So yeah, it's a lot.
I mean, just ask them. I mean, I would, have some kind of voting system. I mean, you got that many people. I mean, the problem I face, and it sounds like you might have had some of this too, is just that you put something out there, even if I incentivize feedback, like it's amazingly low response rate. But if you got 350,000 people, what do you guys think?
You'll have,
Sure. and
Got it.
have some way to kind of filter the responses. I don't, again, maybe it's a survey or I don't know, but yeah, that's what I would do.
Got it.
Congratulations to that person. My gosh.
Yeah. I mean, they're just killing it. And so it is such a fun conversation in terms of getting insights in how they grew and what are the things that they did. It's scheduled to come out, I think, just before yours. And I mean,
350,000 merchants.
merchants.
Is that like
yeah.
all
Not
the merchants
users.
in the world? I mean, God, that's incredible.
Like, they have Shopify integrations and they have, I think, PrestaShop integrations and like all like Magento integrations and all of them.
So that's probably it. It's probably all these
Yeah.
people with Shopify
Yeah.
see that. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's their okay. They're not just like
That's the primary GTA.
Yeah. Cool.
That's the primary go-to-market. They are like their second. Like if you go to Shopify App Store and if you search for apps, like just search for apps across any category, they're second in the world. So
Wow.
So that's their biggest acquisition channel.
Yeah.
Sure. What's your big question, right? What's the challenge that you're struggling with that you would like our next guest to answer?
Well, okay. There's a lot of there are a lot. I get a lot of advice, and there's a lot of different ideas of what to pursue to grow the company and to turn from something that gets 1 or 2 signups a day to 20 signups a day or something, and then make those convert. How do you prioritize that decision making? Like what to focus on? I guess that's it. How do you make decisions about? No, I got a better one.
Okay.
What are you using for good insight into behaviors in your application on your website? Like what are you using for your own internal analytics?
Got it. I can tell you my answer.
Great, yeah.
But I'll ask this to the next guest as well. So for the website we use Google Analytics and Clarity, Microsoft Clarity. Both of them are free. For in-app, we were using Amplitude and Mixpanel.
I've looked at
Amplitude is
Mixpanel.
JavaScript based. Yeah.
Okay.
So Mixpanel it takes like a couple of weeks to implement, if not more, because it works on top of your database. So it's like accurate. It's basically a GUI of your database, and you can like run queries and stuff like that. Amplitude is much simpler. It's like a 30-minute install, like a JavaScript. You just put into your product and then it starts showing you results. Amplitude is not like Mixpanel is like Amplitude is error prone because it is JavaScript. It depends heavily on the browser and the system and the cookies and all of those things. Mixpanel is like directly into your database. So
right.
Whatever is there, it just tells you. It just tells you that. So these were the two platforms that we were using. For the marketing team, though, we had access to, like, we had given them access to Intercom also. So they were able to see how many, like, they were able to build complicated queries within Intercom also, and create lists, right? How many people signed up 90 days ago and logged in the last 7 days and have more than 30 sessions and stuff.
Right.
So that, like, they had created those lists, and then every week we would talk about how can we push this number, which is 500 today, to like 550 or 520 or whatever.
Right.
So that's sort of the tool stack that we had at our stage. But I'll ask this question to our next.
Well, do you think so? Amplitude, that sounds like a context mind. Yeah, 3 weeks of development just to get that going is a big ask. Amplitude sounds like that might be a Okay.
Yeah. Mixpanel is a couple of weeks or more. Amplitude is like 30 minutes and it's free up to 1 million events.
Okay.
Which is like.
I'll check that out.
So that's okay. Yeah, for sure. Do check it out. But thank you for joining me for this conversation, Kevin. I think it was a pleasure speaking with you.
Likewise,
for all the people who joined us. Yeah, absolutely. And for all the people who joined us on YouTube or on Spotify or wherever you were watching or listening to this, you'd be able to find the link to Ahsuite in the description. If you are an agency and if you have a lot of clients, you're looking for one central place for them to log in and see all the updates, all the really good, brilliant things that you've been working on, sign up to Ahsuite and check out the platform in the portal as well. And we'll see you again next episode. Thanks.
Thanks, Yash.